struggled with painting a simple leaf, this is the best place to start, as I will be explaining all the steps how to naturally layer a simple leaf. If you've been watching my videos for a while, then you will know that I prefer the wet on wet technique. Now, there is a reason for that, and mostly it's because anything you layer wet on wet, you give the object a very nice and smooth, soft effect. The first step is to wet your object. You don't want to just wet it for 30 seconds. You actually want to take it seriously, because the longer you wet the object, the more time you're going to have to apply colors wet on wet. If I were going to just wet it for like, let's say 30 seconds, the paper would dry pretty quickly. So how do you know like what is that best timing? First of all, after wetting it for like 2 minutes, you'll notice that the paper starts to slightly buckle. Now, a lot of buckling is not good, but a little bit of buckling is okay, and that's what most papers will do, unless you are using a thicker watercolor paper, which would be 300 pounds. I suggest using a softer brush, just easier basically, and a larger brush, just so you have more coverage instead of working with a tiny brush. The next step would be to apply colors, but what colors, right? So because we're painting a green leaf, you want to start with yellow undertones. Why is that? Because when you take a look at the color wheel, you will see right away how that green is created. So on each side of green, you'll have colors. So you will see that there's a blue color on the left side in that color wheel, and then you're going to have yellow color on the opposite side. When you combine blue and yellow together, you create a shade of green, which is why you want to start with a yellow undertone. And another reason is you will be able to create different shades of that green. And you can control these shades because you can control how much of that yellow you want to apply to that paper before you apply the green. You can also start with the yellow and green, and then you can start adding a shade of blue to that green, so you mix colors on the paper mostly. But then when you apply these colors to the paper, you grab the green and blue, and this way you create different shades of that green. So you slowly want to actually change the ratios between those colors. So one time you have more green than blue. The other time maybe grab more of that blue than green. The idea is to mix colors on the paper, not your palette. Also, the longer you apply colors wet on wet, the more you decrease the amount of water in that paint on your brush. So at first you apply more like a water to milk-like ratio, and then it goes to like half and half like ratio, and then at the end it feels more like a heavy cream to even cream top like ratio between water and paint. In this next step, I will be adding red to my green. Why is that? First of all, I do see some brownish spots over the leaf to the left. And then another reason is because red is a complementary color to green. So if I see any shadows over the leaf, that's when I want to add a little bit of red to my green to create that natural shade for that shadow. Also keep in mind that when you mix red with green together, you create a shade of brown. The next step is to add some detail. For example, veins. You can use for that a longer, thinner brush, which is called a rigger brush, a script liner brush, or a liner brush. So at this stage, your paper should feel more like it's damp. So that shine is almost gone from the paper. This is actually a good time to start lifting colors too. But before that, you want to maybe apply some of these veins so the ratio between water and paint on your brush would resemble something creamy. And this way you have the most control and the paint won't spread as much. Next step is to lift the colors. So this is optional, but if you do see veins over the leaf, why not, right? You're creating this way very soft lines, whiter lines. They're not white, but they're lifted lines. And when you hit that right timing, you create very nice clean lines. What is that best timing to lift the colors? It's actually when that paper feels damp. So that shine is like almost gone or entirely gone from the paper, that's when you want to lift the colors, not when the paper is dry. When the paper is too dry, you won't be able to really lift the colors. And when the paper is too wet, then the chances are that you just keep adding more water to that layer. And once you lift the colors, that's pretty much all I would do to a leaf, unless I wanted to, let's say, add another layer for more vibrancy. So thank you so much for your time, and let me know if you have any questions. If you're looking for more detailed classes recorded in real time, please join me on Patreon. And if you'd like to get familiar with the content on Patreon, I suggest going to my main website, which is www.mariamorjane.com, and then head over to Patreon Index. You'll see all those images of my paintings, but anytime you click on that picture of the painting that you want to paint, that will get you right to Patreon. So thank you so much for your time.